X-Men First Class came out in 2011. It was directed by Matthew Vaughn, who's also known for directing films like Layer Cake, Kick-Ass, and the Kingsman films, and stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and Kevin Bacon. Set during the Cold War in the 1960s, where tensions between the United States and Russia are beginning to escalate, mutants Charles Xavier and Eric Lynchier face off against another mutant who's trying to ignite a nuclear war. So because of this past weekend's release of the New Mutants, I will be reviewing the newest X-Men movies that I have not reviewed yet on my channel. That includes X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Now, I watched the original trilogy first back in, I think, 2017, and I kind of like those movies, not as much the first or the third, but I really liked X2. Then I decided to watch First Class, and this was the movie for me that got me on board with this franchise from 20th Century Fox. And that's why I dislike Disney so much. Not just because of Star Wars, but also because they bought 20th Century Fox. And in my opinion, that's why Dark Phoenix was such a bad movie, because they had to rush that film out before Disney officially bought 20th Century Fox. First Class might just be my favorite movie out of the X-Men franchise. I could not believe just how good this movie was. And it took me over 7 years to watch it since it was released back in 2011. And looking at the careers from this film's stars since it came out, they have skyrocketed. The career of every star in X-Men First Class absolutely has gotten better and better as years have gone on, from James McAvoy to Jennifer Lawrence. These stars are now A-listers, when before this movie they probably weren't as well known as they are today. And with that, the performances in X-Men First Class from our main stars are magnificent. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, I know they had a few movies come out before First Class, but in this movie and in movies after this, like the other X-Men movies, you can tell that these guys are giving it their all. And in this film, they are so good and feel like perfect cast choices. For Jennifer Lawrence, this was one of her biggest roles to date by 2011, and to think that this film came out before the Hunger Games movies is crazy, because I don't think many people knew who Jennifer Lawrence was back in 2011, and this was the movie that gave us an idea of how great she could possibly be in the future. So yeah, for myself, the performances absolutely make this movie even better every single time I watch it, but it's also a movie about relationships and how these characters come together to fight a common enemy. First Class is the initial X-Men prequel movie. If you did not read the comics, you probably had no idea why these guys didn't really like each other. The original trilogy gave us an idea why these guys had different ideologies, but they never went so far into depth that you truly understood it. But after watching this movie, you get a great sense of why these guys don't necessarily like each other come present day, which gives us a ton of character depth for both of their characters. And in general, this movie adds so much depth to everyone from the original trilogy, not just Professor X and Magneto, but also Raven. Her, along with Beast in the film, are very insecure about how they look, but the film tries telling us that it shouldn't matter what other people think about you. They should accept you for who you are and who you are as a person. Eric's backstory is basically the backbone of X-Men First Class. It is the most prominent backstory in the entire movie. With Eric, you completely understand where he's coming from in terms of his hatred for humans. The humans are afraid of the mutants when they are first revealed, and after that, it is history. Eric no longer wants to be on the same side as humans. He wants to attack them because humans don't like them. And also, you get a great amount of backstory as to why Eric hates this film's main villain so much, Klaus Schmidt, or otherwise known as Sebastian Shaw. Of course, I have to talk about Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw in the film, and he is great. His performance might overshadow James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence's. I think Michael Fassbender gives the best performance in the movie, but Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw is so good. You don't usually see Kevin Bacon as a villain, and in this movie, he owns the role. You just know that he was so excited to play a villain in a superhero movie, and in this movie, I think he is absolutely excellent. It's funny how in the movie, there's never a time where Shaw shows an ounce of anger. Usually, villains always have one or two angry scenes, but in this film, it always feels like Shaw is in the driver's seat, and he doesn't feel like he's vulnerable whatsoever. So because Kevin Bacon's character feels like he's invincible, there's never a time on the screen where he's not cool, calm, collected, or relaxed. The entire movie, he looks very happy, and it never goes away. Every time he is on the screen with another character, he just has a smile on his face because he doesn't feel like they can touch him. And that's what's so funny about his character. Usually villains are always angry or they feel like they could get hurt, but in this movie, that's not the case with Kevin Bacon's character, and that's why it works so well. The teamwork aspect of X-Men First Class is great as well. There are multiple good scenes in the film where our characters show a good sense of camaraderie, not only between Professor X and Magneto, but also the rest of this team, with other characters like Raven, Hank, Alex, and Cassidy. This is the X-Men team that I like the most. I'm sure most of you prefer the original cast, but for myself, this is the team that I enjoy watching the most on the screen. And just watching it again last night, I couldn't help but notice how fast-paced this movie was. It felt like I was only sitting there for an hour when in reality the movie is over 2 hours long. And a lot of that has to do with not only our performances, but a lot of exciting scenes, and the finale is really underrated. A lot of people don't talk about how good this finale is in X-Men First Class. When you group the finale with the rest of this movie, it feels like an almost perfect film, and a lot of that has to do with the pacing, the script, the directing. All of that is precise. It'd be a real shame, too, if I ignored X-Men First Class's score. This is the kind of score that you want to hear when going to the movies to watch a superhero film. It gets you pumped up, very excited. It is blasting through the speakers. This is a great superhero score and is very underrated in my opinion. Also, First Class does not shy away from including light moments with great humor from time to time. It goes to show that you don't always need a serious superhero movie to have a good one like The Dark Knight. You can have a lot of humor in the film and still have an excellent superhero movie, and we've seen a lot of that in the recent MCU films that have come out. I'd have to say that my favorite X-Men First Class funny moment has to be the scene where Wolverine makes a cameo. Last night watching that, I was dying. That scene is hilarious, and it's so great seeing Hugh Jackman make a cameo in this movie. I am looking forward to watching the other X-Men movies that came out after First Class later on this week, but as of right now, rewatching First Class last night, this is still my favorite X-Men movie in the franchise. That could change later on this week, but First Class as of right now is a movie that I absolutely love. It has great characters paired with great performances, a lot of good action sequences, and overall gives us a great origin story for the X-Men characters that we love. I'm giving X-Men First Class a 97%. One thing I forgot to mention is how, despite X-Men First Class having a lot of great action moments, compared to Apocalypse or Logan, this movie does not come even close to having the same amount of action sequences, which is actually something I like a lot about this movie. Alright, for those of you who also really enjoy X-Men First Class, or for those of you who do not like the movie, definitely be sure to let me know below in the comment section what your thoughts are of it. Next up, I will be reviewing both Days of Future Past and Apocalypse within the next week or so. If you're new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.